Fergal Keane will be well known to many of you in the room. Unfortunately, he can't be with us today. I think in the last week he's been in Jerusalem, Ukraine and South Africa. I don't think it was a holiday. Obviously, he's been, for 30 years, a BBC war and special correspondent covering conflicts here, South Africa, Rwanda, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Middle East, and then Ukraine and Jerusalem most recently. In 2017, he wrote a wonderful piece before John died, and it was called "Blessed Are the Peacemakers Who Did the Right from the Very Start." And it was a beautiful article in the Irish Independent exploring all those individuals on the island of Ireland and beyond who played their role right from the very start, who always pledged their commitment to peace and non-violence in all the chaos around them. So we're now going to get a wonderful clip, a message from Fergal Keane.
Hello, and the first thing I need to say is I so wish I could be with you there. Unfortunately, events, it's the nature of my job, are keeping me away. But trust that I'm with you in spirit, and that spirit is tolerance. It's what John stood for and what we need now more than ever in this world. He was always to me a reasoned person, but also relentless in times where, had anybody suggested to you that a ceasefire was possible, had anybody said you're going to have a peace agreement that brings people who, let's be frank about it, couldn't bear to be in the same room, that you could bring them into the same government. And I know I'm talking now at a time of hiatus, a time when there is a kind of political vacuum. But I still have hope, and I believe were John alive today, were he politically active, he would be at the forefront of a successful move to resolve the differences which exist. My first knowledge of John was as a young man, a teenager in the Republic, growing up. And it was as someone who appeared on our television screens very often in the wake of atrocity or at a time of heightened political disturbance. But it was always a voice of calm, and a voice that was remarkably articulate. I was a kind of amateur debater at school, and John was one of those people I looked to as a model, because he was a person who listened to what the other side were saying. And even if he was picking up on it, to disagree with them, he did listen. That's critical. So few people in public life, it seems to me today, actually listen to not just the tone of the other's argument, but to the substance of it, and not only looking for points on which to catch somebody out that you're debating with, but possible points of agreement, shared values, ideas that might be able to be worked together. I said, I believe that these are times when we need that spirit more than ever. I look around me at the situation, and I've just spent time in Jerusalem and after that Ukraine in the last month or so. And it is profoundly depressing. I don't think one can say otherwise. We see everywhere a rise of intolerance, a refusal to see the other's point of view. And I think a growing sense of despair. And I think despair is one of the most worrying things, because once you start to despair, once you start to believe that it isn't possible to fix things, that something is so intractable that there is never, ever, ever going to be a possibility of setting the right agenda in the beginning and then seeing that through to a successful agreement. Well, the work that was done by John Hume and his partner in peace, his fellow Nobel laureate, David Trimble, gives the lie to despair. And there were many times in the 30 years of the Troubles when it would have been very easy for John Hume to walk away from what he saw as his responsibility, but he wasn't that kind of man. And we need more men and women of that calibre. We need them in the Middle East. We need them in the Americas. We need them in Asia. Everywhere you look, there is this rising sense of a belief that the way to resolve things now is through violent action. It's through flooding social media with hateful messages. It horrifies me, the amplification of genocidal talk through social media outlets. I asked myself, how did we come to this? I think part of the reason we did was that we took the post-war peace, the long peace, I'm talking globally now, we took it for granted. And of course, since the fall of the Berlin Wall, by 1989 onwards, we've seen a succession of conflicts which act, or should have acted to us, as warnings. I'm thinking of the Bosnian War, I'm thinking of Rwanda, I'm thinking of Kosovo. And that peace is now seriously imperiled. We've had those small wars, but the fear that we will have a greater conflagration is I think more profound now than at any time since 1945. And so, without wishing to depress you all there today, it's certainly not my wish or my intent. I think that seeking the ground on which we can meet those with whom we are opposed, with ideas how to fix things, rather than the ecstasy of righteousness. It's so easy to stand on a soapbox, or the metaphorical soapbox that is Twitter, and to express our outrage and our horror. And it is necessary at times to do these things, of course, but it's no substitution for thinking, how can this be fixed? That was John's relentless, as I said at the very outset, attitude. How do we fix this? All of us need to ask ourselves, and whether it's in terms of the situation in the north of Ireland at the moment, or it's in Ukraine, or it's in the Middle East, and many other troubled places, how can this be fixed? Now, it can't be fixed without some kind of rebirth of belief in the idea of an international order. That order is broken now, and it is routinely broken into ever smaller pieces in different conflicts. The idea of international law, of a community of conscience, that believes in certain accepted principles around human rights, around democracy. This needs to be rebuilt, and it won't be rebuilt in a day. But I think it begins, or is nurtured, with an event like yours today, with a foundation like yours, which honours the principles of tolerance, inclusion, peacemaking, for which John Hume stood. Thank you very much.